There's something about the innovative spirit that results in a solution last minute, right before the deadline.
That
It
does,
works out.
well, I mean, I don't know how you did school. Probably a lot better than me,
No,
but
that's exactly how I did
I
school.
couldn't be, I was no motivation up until like the last, if you're like, we have 22 hours to do the entire semesters of work. I'm like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And you get like 19 freaking Mountain Dews. And then, yeah.
Well, that's why you and I are failures in life, because I just talked to, mentioned Cal Newport, with his book, Deep Work and so on. He is of the variety of these creatures that basically does everything ahead of time,
That's shocking.
because he thinks it's unproductive to experience the stress and anxiety of the deadline, because you're not going to be your best performance wise, and you're not going to do the best work. So it doesn't make any. It's completely irrational to function based on the deadline. You should have a system, a process that gets a little bit of stuff done every day. Like, you should be and constantly be systematically honest with yourself. If you say, I'm going to get this stuff done today and this week, at the end of the day, at the end of the week, you have to then reflect on what you did, what you planned, and improve that plan, constantly update every day, every week, every quarter, whatever those durations are. As I'm listening to this and reading his stuff, it's like, yeah, I agree with everything. I'm like, yes, I'm clapping. But like, the reality is, and then I go back and just eat Cheetos and like don't do shit until like
it ain't
last
easy
minute.
being cheesy. But yeah, remember
actually, I don't eat Cheetos, but yes.
But actually, I like, again, not that it'll ever matter, not that it's ever going to matter, because he's so shockingly productive and well thought out that whatever I've decided to think about trying to monkey wrench in there is definitely going to be able to deal with. But it's funny that, again, because you're a human being, not a god, all of your strengths have a corresponding weakness. The less you practice working under the gun, the less comfortable you are working under the gun. The more practice you have working under the gun, the better you get at it. The downside is you're always working under the gun, so you're less productive, or it's like your work quality maybe drops. So it's an interesting thing. It's like, it's almost like, hey, I wonder if Khabib Nurmagomedov has a lot of heart. And I'd say the answer is almost certainly yes. But you go, well, he hasn't struggled a bunch. Maybe he doesn't struggle well. And it just so happens that he can also work under the gun really well. He just doesn't like to do it.
Yeah.
But but it's an interesting thing. It's like, I guess, what is it? The Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. We are all practicing something all the time. So I guess it's funny. I guess that's a question that I have, though. I would love to ask him. It'd be really neat. Is in certain jobs, I mean, obviously you want to have preparation, always, but certain things have like a degree of like entropy in the system. And you go, I need to practice working under the gun. And I'm not saying that's what I need to do, because fighting it should be, for the most part, it's a really sterile environment in the grand scheme of things. Like, fighting in a cage is very sterile compared to most other things in life, right? But dangerous, but sterile. And unless, of course, like, like the other guy, the ref decides to hit you, which would be hilarious. But anyway, I guess just going like, okay, so at what value do you get out of adding a degree of, let's say, you could even be planned by someone else, but junk in the system, and you just have to work under the gun to make it happen. Let's say, for instance, for like police or something like that, the situation turns left hard at some random point in time, and that could happen to any number of people. So I guess it's interesting, things that allow for perfect planning or quasi-perfect planning versus things that are inherently unstable.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the psychological fallout of comfort with that? Because I think a lot of people that are really comfortable under the gun let it happen a lot, for all the good and the bad of that. Does that make sense?
No, that totally makes sense. And his answer would be that you have to be honest with yourself. If it's valuable for your success to practice being under the gun, and then you should schedule that.
God, then he's smart.
You should plan that. You should systematically, and then, as opposed to doing it half-assedly, because it's, as opposed to letting the environment choose the randomness, like control the randomness to where, like, you optimize it.
How is he? It's so efficient. It's shocking just to hear about it.
Yeah, no, he's annoying. I mean, the same way you are, he's annoying in the same way, which is like he drops truth bombs. It's like, yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, we're probably comparably, doing that. Yeah, no,
but his profession requires that, so he's not just like a motivational speaker or whatever. He's a computer science, theoretical computer scientist, and he needs the long hours in the day of doing like serious math. So it's mostly math proofs.
Hmm.
And for that, you have to sit and think really deeply. It's like really hard work compared to like what most people do. Like even what I do, like programming is way easier than rigorous math proofs because you have to basically you have this machine and you have to your brain to churn out logic in a focused way while visualizing a bunch of things and holding that in your brain and holding that for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, hopefully several hours. And you're not just like doing homework, you're doing totally novel stuff. So, like stuff that nobody's ever done before. So, you keep running up against the wall of like, fuck, this is a dead end. Oh, no, wait, is this a dead end? And like that whole frustration, that's serious mental work. That's like incredibly difficult mental work. So he knows what he's talking about
That's
with this
and
stuff.
it's amazing. But like you said, he's like this seems like the standard for the quality of work that he needs is so high
So high
that
that he
almost
has to.
anything less than this level of systematization and organization would preclude it,
So
right?
he can't afford the kind of bullshit that I don't know about you, but that certainly I do, which is like last deadline kind of stuff, because you can't do that kind of work last minute on
Right.
deadline kind of stuff. So my question for
That's so
him in
cool.
general is like, and for you and I is like, well, here's these negative patterns that we do of like doing shit last minute and so on. Is this just who we are now, or are there some
I don't think I'm really big into free will. I was thinking that it's mostly predestination, at
predestination?
least in this regard.